Hey, this is George Lynch originally from Dokken and Lynch Mob and a whole bunch of other bands. I can't even keep track of. But anyways, you're watching Talking About Rock.
Okay, today's guest is best known for his work with the hard rock band Dokken and his solo band Lynch Mob. Here to chat with us about the band's upcoming release, Dancing with the Devil, let's welcome the legendary George Lynch. Well, George.
Hey, can I work out while we're doing this interview?
if you want to, if that's all right with me.
Listen, I like to work out in the nude. I don't know if that's...
that might be a little... Well, some of the audience might really dig that, but the other audience might not.
Right, but then, so half the audience will dig it, but then the other half will be, repulsed by it.
Yeah, I have to put up explicit things and stuff like that then probably too, right? Yeah, I'd have to have a bar, across in the middle or something, right?
Well, I could wear my secret T-back G-string. I mean... No, I'm trying to... I'm trying to knock out, what do they call it? Multitasking?
Right. Yeah. Get a couple things done at once. Yeah. I know you're super, super busy. We really appreciate your time for sure. So let's talk about a little bit about this new album here that you're putting out there that's coming out. And there's kind of been a lot of questions about this. Is this going to be the final Lynch Mob album? That was kind of talked about at the beginning. Is that still the case?
You know what I found out? I learned a lot from this album. This in the process of doing this record and then doing all these interviews, you're not supposed to lie.
Right. They'll try to catch you or it'll come back, right?
It says it in the Bible. I mean, I don't know to do that, but I didn't consider it lying. At the time, I thought it was the truth. But then I changed my mind.
Right. Could circumstances change? Sure.
Nah, I just changed. I wouldn't even, it's just sort of woke up one day and I felt like, oh, that kind of, maybe I should put this to bed, and it's been 35, however many years it's been, and we just did this record, just in this tour, and okay, maybe time to, now I can concentrate on all my outside projects, and do this solo instrumental record that I've been thinking about doing for many, many years, and spend time living my life as well, at 71. So I'm like, okay. And then next week I woke up and I said, hey, where's that Lynch Mob band I really like, and all my friends and everything. So, and plus my wife likes the money.
Right. That never hurts, right?
I don't care at all. You could keep them when I do it for free. But my wife, on the other hand, yeah, she's all about that. So, apparently 300 pairs of shoes isn't enough.
I hear what you're saying on that. I have a girlfriend that has the same type of thing going on.
Same disease.
And I'm all right with it. I mean, if that's her thing, that's her thing. I have my own things too. So
yeah, it's called 300 guitars. It's all right.
for you, definitely, right? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some Lynch Mob history here. So in 2012, you guys released 3 successful albums via Rat Pat Records. Legacy, an all instrumental EP, if I could speak here, Lynch Mob, Sound Mountain Sessions, and then you did TNN, Slave to the Empire, that featured the original Dokken members. You had some of them on there. You had Jeff Pilson, Mick Brown on there, and you also had Sebastian Bach and Tim Ripper Owens singing on there, doing some classic Dokken songs on that. I thought that was a really, really cool project.
You have a better grasp on my discography than I do. And I'm being honest about that. It's sort of all a blur. I know I did a whole bunch of records.
Right.
And I'm sure if I was going back and listen to them, I would really be like, oh man, why can't I play like that anymore? But yeah, it just seemed like I had this tremendous energy and spurt of just creative, output for about a decade there. I'm still doing it, I guess. I'm still putting out a lot of records. I've got this new Lynch Mob record obviously coming out that we are speaking about, but I also have a live Lynch Mob record coming out early next year. And also we're just finishing up Cassandra's Crossing, the second Cassandra's Crossing record. And then, who knows what after that? I'm sure I'm going to pile. Actually, I was just thinking of calling the label today. I was going, hey, man, I got a big hole in my February. How about let's do another record.
Do some more stuff, yeah.
I didn't even think about where the records are going to end up or how many I'm supposed to do or anything or what's in my car. And I just like sitting around. And I also I love making records because I just love sitting in the studio and just coming up with stuff, the riffs and all the other parts and then arranging it. I just think it's the funnest thing in the world. Well, second funnest thing in the world.
Yeah, we had Cassandra Carson on here a while back from Paralandra, and we talked to her a little bit about, some of the stuff you were working on with her, working on Cassandra's Crossing and that. And definitely this standout track, I told her, Stranger, just, had your style and sound all over it. You developed that over the years. I mean, there's certain guitar players, you know their tone and their style when it starts out. You can identify who that is, and you've definitely accomplished that with your sound.
Wait a minute. Stranger's your favorite song?
Yeah.
That's my least favorite song and the one I was thinking about leaving off the record.
Really? Really? I told her I really dug it. She's like, what do you like about that? I go, I really like Stranger. It just comes out right away and it just has that style and tone. And I thought that was really great. She said she's been working with you on some things, and played some shows. And I'm like, I really like Paralandra. What they're doing is really cool.
Yeah, I was going to leave that song off the record. I was thinking, and actually, every time I get to that part of the record, when I'm listening down, for arrangements, things, and listening to the vocals, she's doing vocals as we speak, and she's sending me demos every day, and we're working through things. And I get to that song, I can't even listen to it. I'm just like, ugh. And then I talk to you, and that's your favorite song. I don't trust my own judgment. Is the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I it really stood out. Maybe because it was kind of a couple of the first, releases from it that I heard when I started listening through the whole album. But I don't know. Yeah, I kind of really like that. Yeah, she has a great voice.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about Cassandra's Crossing?
Yeah.
How would you hear The Stranger when the record's not done?
I heard that one track. That was from the debut album. Cassandra's Crossing was on there. Stranger was on there.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh,
the debut album. The debut album. Yeah.
Okay, because there's another record I'm working on that also I accidentally called it that too. So I think we're talking about two different Strangers here. I got to figure it out.
Okay, that might very well be. I'm talking about her debut album that you did with her on the debut Cassandra's Crossing. Yeah, that they put together.
Oh, that's odd. Okay, I got to figure that.
Well, okay. I didn't mean to throw you there, but
no. I'm glad you brought. I'm glad we figured that out because now I got to fix that. But I lose track of stuff a lot of times. As you do a lot of records back to back, and they sort of kind of all blend together, and then I'm using the same riffs over there. Hey, wait a minute, use that same riff on that record last year, and I'm like, oh crap. And, you do it unconsciously or subconsciously, but it's not intentional. But it's just the way you play, And the other thing is when I'm working on songs, I always come up with titles that are not meant to stick. They're just temporary
placeholder. Yeah.
Yeah. Placeholders, I should say. And then, and that's just, supposed to, she comes up with the lyrics or whoever works on the lyrics, then we come up with the titles. Sometimes they come up with real titles, but what Gabriel and Cassandra both have done, especially Gabriel, is they keep all my stupid fake names, my temporary names, and they keep them and they use them for the name of the song, and then they sing that, and I'm going, no. Because a lot of times my working titles will the way not all of them, but a lot of them I'll think of what band or song that reminds me of, and then I'll name it something with a name similar to that, and that way when I'm looking at 11 songs, I'm going, okay, well, it could have a name on it, but that doesn't tell me anything about what it is. Doesn't, you know, it's not going to conjure up what the song is. But if it's an AC/DC or Judas Priest ripoff and a specific AC/DC or Judas Priest song that it sort of reminds me of, then I'll call it something like that. And then I'll go, oh, it's that song.
So they can give you the vibe of what that song is, kind of, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's identifier. But what Gabriel and Cassandra have done, and other people in the past have kept the titles, the working title. So the new Lynch Mob record is almost all that. Almost every title is the working title. And I guess Gabriel didn't get the memo.
Understood. Yep. So that album, I think, is coming out the 28th. I wanted to also ask you a little bit about your time, what was billed as like the Dokken and Lynch reunion. You guys kind of started that in 2020. Yourself and Don Dokken playing some shows with that, which are really great. I attended a couple of those shows, and I had some folks come who hadn't seen you perform before, and I basically told them, wait till this man steps on stage, and their mouths just dropped because it was just amazing as ever. It was back in the day to me. It was just killer.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, I try to keep my chops up, and well, actually, I don't really try to keep my chops up. I'm not very disciplined when it comes to, and I'm actually kind of, in some ways, inherently lazy about the things I'm supposed to do versus the things I want to do. So I don't do enough practicing and so forth. But regardless, I do try to make sure the end result is positive and flowing in a direction, not just stagnant and not flowing backwards, And so to hear that kind of feedback is heartening because, I try hard and I pride myself in having good shows and consistently good shows, and consistently good records, I mean, they can't all be the best, but they all are the best right when they come out, right when you're working on them.
Right. So that's your baby, right, at the time, right?
Yeah. And then it seems that your opinion of the record is skewed by its commercial success, in the ensuing 6 months or year or whatever it is for it to come out and then see what happens. And if nobody pays attention, all of a sudden, whose fault is this record? That happened with Doc, with not dysfunctional, but Shadow Life, which was not a commercial success and was probably arguably our worst record. But it was funny because leading up to the release of the record, everybody was taking credit for it. The writing and the production and the this and the that, the inspiration. And then as soon as it flopped, everybody ran for the hills and blamed it on everybody else, except me. I was the only. No, I'm kidding. But but the same thing happened with a record I did called Project Infidelica, which I believe was a beautiful, just an exhilarating experience of making that record. It was just, to me, it's just a standout thing for me, probably because it was such a different animal for me, completely opposite of what I've ever done. But it was panned very, badly by critics and fans alike, and nobody got it. I mean, a few people did, but not enough to matter. So
yeah, I find that interesting. Sometimes, artists will say like they're very surprised sometimes what takes off and what doesn't. Sometimes they're like, like you said, oh, leave that song off, or don't include this song, or change something. And like, with Ronnie James Dio, he wanted to leave off Rainbow in the Dark. He didn't like that song. He didn't think that was going to work for him. And then of course, boom, that hits for him huge, right? And then they just do the push behind it. And then you get the other side of it too. You have something you think maybe is really, really special and in the right moment. And like you said, maybe it doesn't get the love, or the sales that you're looking for out of that.
And that's why I think it's probably a good idea to have other people in the mix and, outside objective opinions that are, know more about this stuff than I do, like prevailing attitudes and, in the generationally, what's happening with me. I don't really keep in tune with that. I don't listen to a lot of current music. I'm not really tapped into anything. So, I just write what I write, and I let the chips fall where they will. But and I think that's you probably have just as good as results with that as if you were calculated and scientific about it. Quite honestly, it's like the stock market.
Right, right.
Or
It's
gambling,
very, very hit or
or
miss
gambling,
sometimes. Yeah.
basically the same thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of the bands, they kind of have their own like internal review groups. Sometimes they review their tracks before they, do anything with it internally with, their group inside and do things like that and kind of get their input on the songs. So I had a question about you back in the day. So when you guys were writing for Dokken and doing songs with that, did you feel your input on any of those songs was minimized at all or not heard? Did you feel like you had, you know, the depth on that for the songs, or did you kind of feel a little pushback at all when you're doing those original Dokken tracks?
As far as when we were writing them back in the day,
Yeah. Did you get that feeling where you had an open book to do kind of what you wanted, or did you feel it was more restrained?
I think there was a lot of self-restraint there because we were focused on what the brand was, and that was very clear at that time. We weren't in experimental mode. We were trying to establish something, and we were aware of that. So we were right in the middle of that, just right in the center of that rock highway that was happening in the 80s, pulling from the 70s and feeding off everybody else around us, Judas Priest, AC/DC, all the other big bands, Van Halen and all that, and putting that all together and being a part of that. We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel or create something new. So and it was Jeff and I, we did most of the writing, and we were very focused on that. And yeah, we felt we could do anything we wanted, really. I mean, sky was the limit. We didn't have there was nobody telling us what to do, fortunately. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and I also spoke to Don, I think it was last week, talked to him a little bit about, back in the day, playing the Monsters of Rock tour, things like that, and the breakdown in communication that obviously happened with the band. What's your feelings around that? What do you think kind of was the spearhead that kind of said enough's enough here at this point?
breakdown, no breakdown communication. No, there was, no, the truth of the matter is, and I've said this many, many times, and I'm not saying it in any kind of, disparaging way, but the fact is that Don really wanted to control everything and have the lion's share of the money. And that's really what it all came down to when you boil it down to its, foundational element, most basic thing. That's what he was trying to accomplish. So, and he let us know that, and he got his own separate management, and then he had his own separate record deal, and he was trying to fire us, but we couldn't do that. He couldn't do that because we all owned the band. So, he disbanded the band or whatever, or left or whatever. He tried to fire us, but he couldn't do that. So he just started his own thing and then sued us. So we countersued, and the end result was nothing. Everybody just went their own way, I guess. It was
Want their separate ways. Yeah. So,
yeah, but really, I mean, everybody lost, but Don, we all did okay. I mean, we've all done wonderful things and very satisfying and gratifying musically. But
yeah, Jeff has gone on. He's playing with Foreigner and doing shows with them and doing tons of other projects.
Jeff's doing arguably better than any of us at this point on that level. But yeah, but what we all gave up was the sure thing, which was what we had all worked for, which was we did the build. We did it the right way with the help of our incredible management, Q Prime, Cliff Bernstein and Peter Mensch at Q Prime, who managed, Queensryche, Metallica, and even the Rolling Stones, and other huge bands at the time. And we had that power, of that whole machine guiding us, and we did the right records all at the right time. The timing was perfect, and on a wonky business level, everything was primed for us to pretty much turn the corner. So that's what every professional musician wants, kind of at our level, is to get to that point where you have this negotiating power with the labels and promoters and others, but especially the labels, to have leverage to where you get the deal. And those deals last for many, many years. And then you go to another level, financially, security, music security. I mean, you have a home and you're going to be established, and it's going to carry you through the rest of your life. And that's the point we worked towards. And we were on the cusp of signing that deal with Warner Brother Elektra. Don didn't want to. I had insisted that all throughout the band's career, when we were intact, I was insisting that we be 4 for 1, 1 for all, quarter splits on everything, regardless of who wrote what, regardless of anything. I wrote the most music. I had the most. I suffered the most for that, if you want to call it suffering. But I gave up the most, and I still believed in that, because I thought you get the best results that way, because you're letting the people that are contributing the most important music, you're letting them do that, and you're not forcing people that are contributing inferior music to feel compelled to insist on their contribution musically to the album because they want to make more money. This way, you're paying the weaker writers to stay home, and they get just as much money. And I thought that was a good idea. And plus, it was just fair. We'd all been out there on the road for 10 years, busting our ass. We all came up from the same place. We all played together in the garages and the kegger parties and the sock hops, and we all did our time. So just because one of us has got the last name, or one of us has more talent or identifiable style or something, isn't the other person shouldn't suffer for that. So I was very comfortable with that, and Don was not. And that was our problem. That was his problem with me. I didn't have a problem with him, other than the fact that he wasn't comfortable with being fair and sticking to the plan, and the agreement that we all worked under for those 10 years. And then when it came time for the big payday that we all worked for, he wanted to take it all and pretty much kick us to the side, off to the side. And it's not what good people do, you know what I'm saying? So I lost a lot of respect for him, and I fought him on that. And, here we are today. So Dokken could have been, a much bigger band, could have been on the Motley Crue level, and then like that, Bon Jovi level, which is a whole other level. We all would have been pretty set for life. And that got stolen from us, because he took the gamble to take it all, and whatever,
I understand. Well, you've definitely persevered and moved forward. You got some great music you guys are still doing. And I had one last question for you from our audience. Actually, we had someone write into us here who's been a guitar player for over 20 years, and they had just a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it. You've even been through this type of circumstance. You know what I mean? Because they play in practice for long periods of time. So they wanted to know if you've ever had to deal with issues of like your fingers becoming stiff, anything like that when you're practicing or playing for long periods of time. Are there any maybe techniques that you use to deal with that, if you've had to deal with that?
Yeah, I do have that now. Not frequently, but enough to be bothersome. And it does. I get cramps. I don't know exactly what they are. I don't know if it's carpal tunnel. I don't know if it's a nerve thing. I don't know, but I'll be playing live, and it's always when I try to do something a little outside my limit, stretching wise, speed wise, and I'll get a static contraction in my left hand, and it'll be like a claw, and I won't be able to move it. I'm immobilized, and it's scary. The first time it happened to me, I thought I was having a stroke or something. I was just like, oh my God. And I just had to, like, mid solo, just stop and, hold open notes or whatever I was doing. I don't know. And just shake my hand out. And so now I sort of try to prevent that. So I'll purposely not go to that limit anymore. to that point where I think that it might induce that. So I think I have a handle on it. I don't know what it is. I haven't had it checked out or anything. In previous decades, I think like the late 90s, I was having also those kinds, different kind of issue, but similar to that. But it was in my forearm, my left forearm. And what I would have to do is just wrap it pre-show with like warm, moist towels, that kind of thing. I don't know. But having said all that, I will say that when you start getting up in years, it's pretty cool to be a guitar player because you can still keep playing guitar. You might have to change your style a little bit, maybe slow down a little bit, but that's okay. But it's not like singers sometimes where, they lose their voice or something, or drummers, where it's kind of hard to be that physical, when you're 70.
Right. You see the drummers, yeah, definitely retiring first, right? Usually a lot of times it's just, that's the most physical job there is to do.
Unless you're Tommy Aldridge, yeah. That guy's just a machine.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So the new Lynch Mob album, Dancing with the Devil, will be out November 28th through Frontiers Music and Rat Pack Records. Pre-orders are available now, and you can catch Lynch Mob on tour with the Mr. Scary Mini Winter Tour. All dates and shows at georgelynch.com. All right, George, thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.